Hello gardening friends, it is Thursday, June 11th, and it's time for another garden update. I'm going to start on the porch today because I haven't done the porch lately. I've got the planter here, and I did want to talk about something that came up this morning. So some plants really don't like full sun. Like, can you see the difference here in this color of green where this gets some shade and this got full sun? So I did not realize that Creeping Jenny really does like the shade. And it's really kind of gone big here because this is its third year in this planter. And the other things that I've put in here this year aren't properly shading it. So it's kind of complaining about that, if you can see the color difference. So I haven't really figured out how I'm going to handle that yet, but that's fun. So we've got some lobelia here. I've got dahlia, some odds and ends. I can't think of the names of them right now. I did put in a lavender. So I was having a debate with my mom. So it has gone sideways like this, and I thought maybe I should do it this way, but my mom said I should leave it this way because it will be bushier. So I'm curious if you have any input on which way the lavender should go. Feel free to leave me a comment if you have any opinions of if it should stay down or if I should try and get it to go up. I don't really have a preference either way. I'm just curious which way you would do it. Over here I've got a couple coleus which are not very happy with me. I did move them into the shade of this pot because they were getting too much sun. They were really mad about it. These are actually peppers grown by my 10-year-old. So look at him being a little gardener. So I had peppers for dinner the one night, bell peppers, and he's like, can we grow bell peppers? I was like, yeah, sure, here's some seeds, do what you want with it. So I told him, like, here's a pot out on the porch, do whatever you want with it. He planted a bunch of the seeds and they're doing really well. So that is his little project, which I actually have to move them into the kids' garden, which is over here. And the kids' garden, I haven't done much with it except weed it. But when I was weeding it the other day, I saw that I actually have a bunch of volunteer tomatoes in here. So I did shift one or two that were in a really bad spot. But I've got volunteer tomatoes. And over here and down here are some kind of a squash. Most likely they're acorn squash because that's what I had last year. And that's typically what I'll throw out here if I have like a bad one or something in the winter months. So they're probably acorn squash, and they could be any kind of tomatoes that are over here. So we'll just wait and see what's going on there. Down here, I would like to point out that lemon balm is in the mint family and is very invasive. So I'm probably going to have to pull some of this out. I might post it for sale with my oregano, just because there is quite a bit of it. I do like it, but maybe not this much of it. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to deal with. And now we're going to take a walk out to the garden, so let me pause and get out there. Okay, so we're coming up to the garden. I do have a partial fence over here. My husband has started working on a little bit. We did also move this fence, which was across here. I kind of wrapped it around because the clematis was climbing awkwardly and it was really wrapped in the fence, and he didn't want to kill it. I didn't want him to kill it. So my solution was to just tie the fence this way in like a circular motion so that it will not get killed. So the fence is going to come across here. That's a work in progress. Let's move on to what is growing. So we've got different times doing really well. I actually found a mint plant hiding in a bucket. So if you saw in past videos, I had like some buckets and random things over there. So it was actually one of the buckets that was over there. And yeah, I was weeding it and I'm like, this looks like a mint. And I smelled it. I'm like, yep, that's absolutely a mint. So that's, yeah. All right, over here, I've got my 2 volunteer tomatoes. I did consider moving this one over, but I didn't really get a chance and I wasn't really going to mess with it. So if you see these things, this is telling me how much water the garden got this morning. So I've been putting I did put them out when I set up the watering system because I like to see what I'm dealing with for watering and if I have to adjust my watering system. So I come out here every day and I dump those, and I just kind of take an eyeball of it and go, okay, am I getting enough water? Am I not getting enough water? So you can see like this end of the bed over here is getting about that much water. I'll just pour that out. Anyone who has asked about dog's bane, that has come up in the gardening group a few times. So dog's bane is these stupid little things here, and I cannot get them to stop coming up in my garden. They're actually really annoying. There's another one right here. Normally I don't like to pull these without gloves on because they have a white sap in them, and if it gets on your hand, I've heard like it's really it will bother you, like itchy, and I can't think of the word right now, but it's an irritant, I think is the word I wanted. So you don't want that on your skin. Because they are small, I can just kind of pull them straight up. When they get a little bit more established, they snap and you can see the white sap. So I try not to pull them when they're bigger, just because I don't want that all over my fingers. I don't want to find out how much of an irritant it actually is from what I've heard. Looking down here, oh, we have damage. This has been chewed. Oh man, they're all chewed. This is freshly chewed. Oh, that's really frustrating. So these are my hot cherry peppers. These ones are doing all right, but that one has been bitten off. That one's bitten off. This one's bitten off. So if you followed any of my previous videos, you will know that we are putting up a fine mesh, and it actually is partially up. So we've got the fine mesh. It started here. It's gone here all the way around. You can see it's on the ground, so it'll keep the critters from coming through. And we did get to this corner before we ran out of the fencing. So we did order new fencing. It is in. We just haven't had a chance to come out and put more up. I'm trying to figure out what to do about this berry bush right here, because that one is on this side of the fence. I was able to get, like, there was some over here, and I was able to get some of that through the fence, as well as removing what was on this side. I have to remove this stupid grass here. This is a berry bush. I don't really want to kill it, but I don't really have a choice because I need this fencing up to keep the critters out, which you can see they're doing damage. Oh, jeez. Looks like something happened to this something happened to this corn plant here. I don't know what happened to that. I might have to put a new corn in. So we'll come back to the corn. I'm talking about the fencing. Try not to get too distracted here. So over here, we're going to have more fencing, and we have cleaned that all up. So there is place to put fencing, and I really need the fencing in because I have seen voles running in the grass over here. So having the pathways clear of the weeds and having the fencing will help, because once there's fencing up, these little suckers aren't going to be able to just come in. They're going to have to really work for it. They're going to have to dig holes, because if you can see over here, we've really put this on the ground, and we're going to get some stake things to like hold it down so that they can't just go under, because there are some spots like here where it's not all that flush, so that's going to be part of keeping them out. Since I'm over here, these are my glass gem corn. I did have somebody in the group tell me like, oh, you need to have like 4 rows for pollination reasons. I am only doing 2 rows because I am trying out the 3 sisters method. So I'm going to give these another week, because then they'll be about the 6 to 8 inches tall they need to be before you put in beans. So there's going to be beans on either side, and then I'm going to throw some zucchini in here because zucchini is pretty quick growing, and that's a squash, and yeah. So there's that. Let's see what else we've got going on over here. We've got more peppers that have been eaten. Oh, this is so frustrating. So these peppers were doing fabulous when I came out here yesterday. That's how quick voles hit, and that's why I get so mad, because they hit quick, they hit hard. They're little jerks. I'd like to say other words, but I'm not going to. It looks like the tomatoes here are doing all right. These are the Roma tomatoes. This was my giant Marconi peppers which are not so giant anymore. Oh, frustration level is high up there right now. These are the, let me double check I'm saying the right word, Mariana tomatoes. So the Mariana tomatoes have only been in the ground a week and 2 days. In less than a week, I had tomatoes all over them. So that's pretty impressive. They bounced back super quick once they got on the ground. If you saw them when I planted them last week, they were yellow, they were sad, they were mad at me. They were so mad at me. They are doing really well right now. So there's the Marianas compared to the Romas. So already the Marianas are looking a lot better. This Roma has 1 tomato on it since last week, and that's really all it's doing. But they've got a lot of dead stuff on them too, so they are not bouncing back as fast as the Marianas. So I don't know if that's something to consider or not. All these little random weeds here are thistle. I have to pull thistle again. It's making me crazy. These are the cucumbers. They're looking pretty good. And I've got something growing over here. I don't think I planted that. I think that's a fleabane. It looks like a fleabane. I don't mind fleabane. There are 2 different kinds of fleabane. There's the Philadelphia fleabane, which is kind of a pinky color, and that's like the polite fleabane that's really easy to pull. And if it gets in my pathways, I really don't care. It doesn't bother me. But then there's another fleabane, which is more aggressive and a little harder to pull. And I don't really like that variety so much. We do have some mystery tomatoes over here. I did not plant these. These are self-planted and they are doing really well. I did cage them because of the location. They're on the end of my thing here. And if I don't cage them now, they're going to be unruly and in my pathway, and I'm trying to nip that in the butt a little bit. I will come out here and try and guide that into the cage so that it's not so frustrating later. I really was good this year about putting the cages on the tomatoes. I don't know if you remember last year, I was really bad at that and I regret it very much later, but I'm being good this year. Speaking of cages, so I've got an experiment going here. Last year I took some bamboo poles. I took that meshy stuff, which I did have one on the ground here. Oh, here it is. Alright, so I had this meshy stuff from Walmart. Really cheap, really easy to put up. So I had put that on bamboo poles in this bed over here. And overall it did pretty well, but it also fell down because of the weight of the squash and stuff that climbed on it. It was meant for peas, and then I added squash once the peas started dying back, and it overall worked. I'm not gonna lie and say it didn't work at all. It overall worked, but I'm sure at some point you saw videos where the whole thing was like whoop into my pathway, like a really angle, so that really did not work. What I'm trying this year, this is probably going to end horribly, but I'm going to try it anyway. This bed is going to be bush beans, but I think I'm going to wait on that until I figure out the stupid vole thing, because vole damage. Suckers. Anyway, this is going to be bush beans, but I decided to put in the middle of it a butternut squash because the ones I bought kind of didn't make it. Yeah. Anyway, was given a butternut squash by a really nice guy locally. Really appreciate that guy if you're following along with my videos. And I'm experimenting with some of this old fencing that was taken off from over here. It's just sitting in a pile over there now. I've actually cleaned it. It's nice. But I've put it over here, and I've done a circle around my squash here because I want to see if that will keep it in a contained space off the pathways. I have absolutely no idea if it's going to work. It could fail horribly. It could be all over my pathways by August. It could be kind of contained. I don't know. The thing with the squash is when they were over here last year, They did really grow on the fencing well, and whatever was next to the fence grew on the fence, and it stayed on the fence. It was nice. Anything that wasn't next to the fence, it went on my pathways, and it took over like this whole area here. So my theory is that if it's in a cage all around, it will climb on that cage. I'm sure somebody out there is watching this video and laughing at me and going, haha, this is gonna fail horribly. But hey, I need to experiment to learn these things, right? Like, we all try these things and learn things somehow. My other experiment here, you've probably heard me talking about I want cattle panels. Well, I want cattle panels until I found out that I don't have enough space for cattle panels. So I've been told that to get this nice archway of a cattle panel over your pathways, you need 4 to 5 feet across. I don't know if you can tell, but this is not 5 feet, not 4 feet. It's more like 3. It's like just wide enough to get my cart through, which there's no way my cart is 4 to 5 feet wide. So that is not going to work. I did kind of want it like in this middle section, because then I could walk through, and then it won't really be affected by the way the watering system is on these two ends, because there's a sprinkler thing there, and there's a sprinkler right here next to me. Hi, Lexi. So that was what I wanted to do, but if I want to do that, I think I'm actually going to have to put it in here, over, and in there, and I don't know if I want to do that or not. That's something I want to think a little longer on, and I also want to see how this experiment goes before I commit to that, because it is a cost, it is a pain in the butt to get the things and set it up and blah, blah, blah. So this is my mini version of a cattle panel that I am testing out, and somebody did tell me that they've tried this before and it failed, but they also didn't support it as well as I have. So I have these heavy-duty metal stakes, like these are actually really sturdy ones, and I've got one in the middle here to support the weight in the center. And if you see, like this doesn't shake all that much. Like, it's actually pretty stable, because I've got these holding up the two sides there, the two sides here, one in the middle. And what really helped stabilize it even further was I came through and I put some bamboo poles on the sides, and that really made a big difference in the stability of it. So it was kind of stable when I did the top, but now it feels really secure since doing the bottom on both sides. Is this going to work? I don't know. I think it will be decent because it is pretty stable. It's definitely more stable than last year's bamboo poles and mesh failure. But I don't know if it's going to nicely climb like it should. I don't know if it's going to end up in my pathways and making me crazy. I have no idea what I'm going to get yet. But I do have 3 acorn squash. 1, 2, 3. And these are the ones that were in the pot that was like in the corner over there. So if you saw then like the last video where I was like, oh, I need to plant it. Here's the empty pot that it came out of. I did plant them. They are looking okay. They do have the wilty leaf thing going a little bit ever since I planted it, but they also kind of looked like that before I planted them. So I don't think it's specifically me planting them. I think they just are drama plants and want to fuss. Okay, moving on. So I had somebody early in the year give me these tomatoes. So they're labeled as the Burpee Best Boy Hybrid. And if he's watching this video, thank you for these. Look, they're still alive. I've kept them alive. They did spend some winter time in the greenhouse box on my deck, and they did do well. So I think these ones here are that type. But then these two over here also had that label, but they're a different type of leaf, and they're actually purple on the underside of the leaves. I don't know if you can kind of see that here, like right on the underside of the leaves, like right there is kind of purple. So he told me that he thought some were glacier tomatoes and some were these. He wasn't really sure, but I did plant them in separate sections. So these 4 looked like they had the same leaf type, and those 2 looked like they had a different style leaf, and they also had the purple leaf thing going. So we'll see how that goes. I did decide to put them next to the cattle panel and set up here. On this side they will get sun because the sun comes this way. So they'll get morning sun over there and over here. Like if this side doesn't really get the morning sun, it will get the afternoon sun because the way the sun comes like across this way. If you can see, like the sun's like over that way. So it comes on angle through here. So if I put things in here, they will get pretty good sun. Let's see, what else do we have growing over here? I have a green onion that kind of fell over and is really mad about it. I did not knock it over, I promise. It kind of fell over on its own and has just been miserable. Over here though, oh geez, something was digging in here. I can see the marks of probably a squirrel. I did put the Cherokee purple tomatoes over here, and in front of them I did plant some basil seeds. I'm gonna pour this one out while I'm next to it. And I do have some more tomatoes over here. So I have 2 patio smaller type tomatoes, and I was planning to put them in the kids' garden, but since the kids actually have a lot of volunteers, I'm thinking of just putting them in 2 pots, because I have successfully grown tomatoes in buckets before when I lived in the city and I didn't have a proper garden yet. I did have a proper garden before I moved, but I did plant things in buckets on the porch for several years before I got to that point, and tomatoes did really well in buckets, so I am thinking of sticking those 2 in a bucket. And then this is my 4th of July tomato, which is supposed to have tomatoes by 4th of July. It does have some flowers on it. I do want to get that in the ground, and I've been debating where I want to put it. I think I want to put it in this empty space over here between the tomatoes and the cucumbers. So I'm thinking of putting it over there, but I'm not really sure, but I need to get it in soon. Speaking of getting in soon, these flowers need to get into their planters. It's actually really hot right now, so I don't want to move dirt and fill up the planters. Like I'm actually like really sweating as I'm doing this video, which is why I'm doing this video instead of working in the garden, because I'd be dying trying to do the garden right now. I am sad to say my lantana, which was something I really like, I was really looking forward to. It's like my favorite flower to have out here. It did not make it when my mom did not water while I was gone that weekend. I'm so sad about that. I'm honestly really sad about that. Those are my favorite outside summer flowers, so deep sigh on that one. It looks like these also are not doing well. I think they're probably toast. They also need to go into dirt. I did plant the pots thinking that they'd be okay, but I think by the time I had done that, they were already kind of on their way out, and I don't think there was any saving them. It is good to be aware of what's more drought tolerant than other things. Like these suckers, I like them. They're happy. They're doing well. They're still in their original pots. They're not even planted the way they're supposed to do, and they're flowering and they're happy, and go figure. Ha 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 ha. These plants, they laugh at me. You spent money on me. Ha ha ha. No. Alright, over here, let's see. Where did I move my fig? Oh, the fig got moved over here. I actually just moved this yesterday, which is why I wasn't sure where it was. The bottom of it had a bunch of ants under it because of me putting it in this planter that used to house the pineapple. The pineapple did not overwinter. I stuck it in the shed because this pot was so big it took 2 of us to actually lift it into a wagon to move it, and there was no way I was going to be able to transport that to the person's house who was babysitting it for me for the past couple winters. So, oh my goodness, did you see that vole? There's a vole right there as I'm talking. I just saw him go under the little fence post. This is what I'm talking about with these suckers just being, oh. They don't even care I'm out here talking. They're just like, oh, I'm just going to do my own thing. Deep sigh, deep sigh. Anywho, my pineapple did not make it. So I think I'm going to like clean that up. And I'm thinking of putting the fig into it. Because the fig it did overwinter. I did put it in the ground for the winter. But my neighbor has had figs for years in like a giant one of these, like the official barrel one, so I don't know if it makes a difference between like they have wood barrels, and they actually have some big plastic ones too, but I don't know if this one's big enough to be okay to put a fig in it for the winter, so I'm gonna have to like think on that one. But if I am going to put it in there, I'm going to put it in the kids' garden because it will get protection from the winter breezes with being like between the house and the deck over there. It won't get the wind that it will out here because this is like all open, and it is going to have harsher winds and winter over here than against the shed. So the neighbors does really well because theirs is against their shed on like the other side where you can't see it. So theirs do really well because they are protected from wind and stuff. My oregano is everywhere. I was thinking of trimming this a little bit. I just haven't had a chance, so I've just kind of been letting it do its thing. I will trim it at some point. Violas are everywhere and looking very happy, and I'm really enjoying them being everywhere. And my husband was actually really careful when he put the fence over here. He's like, I'm trying not to hit your violas. And I'm like, I really appreciate that, actually. In the past week, I did add strawberry. So last week when I did this video, there was no strawberry patch. It was hiding. This is actually my patio blueberry plant here, which I've had since my old house. So I want to say this thing's probably around 15